Hello again, YouTubers, Ultimate SpongeBob 101 back here again on the SpongeBob channel. Today we are reviewing SpongeBob episode 68, Patrick SmartPants and SquidBob TentaclePants, two episodes with names that end with pants. Anyways, synopsis states Patrick gets hit in the head and comes to with superior intellect. Also, Sandy accidentally melts SpongeBob and Squidward into one body when her teleportation device malfunctions. Let's begin. Patrick SmartPants is a really interesting episode. We start off with SpongeBob and Patrick being, well, SpongeBob and Patrick. But Patrick soon finds himself running off a cliff and having his head dislodged, when he makes impact with the ground. So SpongeBob finds what looks to be Patrick's head in the ground and reattaches it to Patrick, not realizing that it wasn't in fact Patrick's head, but presumably belonged to a similar starfish, but one of extremely high intellect. The core of this episode shows SpongeBob and Patrick slowly drifting apart, with Patrick finding his new intelligence to be more appreciated by Squidward and then Sandy, but even that doesn't last for too long. One thing I do not understand is how it is possible for Patrick to have any idea of his previous life and personality if all of that information should be in his brain, which was completely replaced. Regardless, Patrick realizes that he needs to rekindle his friendship with his bestie that he has been shunning, and so he literally kidnaps SpongeBob, although to the latter's delight, and they engage in more silly nonsense before Patrick asks what had changed. And he realizes that his head must have been replaced, and then proceed to, locate the original head, and Patrick rather nobly chooses to relinquish the newfound intelligence and become an idiot once more. The message here is clearly that knowledge and intelligence is not everything, and without relationships with other people, life will certainly lack fulfillment. One alternative ending might have been to have kept both heads. I mean, you could just have both heads and swap between them, right? That way Patrick can be smart and dumb whenever he needs to. But alas, we got what we got in the episode, so plot-wise, the episode gets a 8 out of 10. I enjoyed the tension between SpongeBob and Patrick, the wedge that Patrick's new intelligence drove between them, and the honorable decision Patrick made at the end of the episode. Plus, the knowledge Patrick espoused as a result of his new brain is of course a very visible change in Patrick's personality, but who is to say Patrick's own brain is incapable of having such high intelligence as well? Yeah, we often see how tiny Patrick's own brain is, but who knows? Maybe he's always been having two brains for the right moment. Animation gets 8 out of 10. My favorite scene in this episode is, of course, Patrick insisting on smashing through the sign at the cliff's edge and falling to his doom. His expression was purely ridiculous, but funny as well, and not to mention the scenes where Patrick was trying to find a scientific solution as to why his friendship with SpongeBob had fallen apart. Unique characteristics gets a 8 out of 10. It's not the first time Patrick demonstrates a stroke of genius, but this time he is 100% a genius, which was a fresh style of Patrick to see. I'm never a fan of mindless foolishness, so I'll gladly take smart Patrick over dumb Patrick any day. That means Patrick SmartPants gets a total of 24 out of 30 from me. Let's move on to SquidBob TentaclePants. This episode focuses on a scientific experiment gone wrong, and the plot basically comes about because of Sandy's negligence as a scientist and inventor. No scientist would get away with what Sandy did in this episode. I feel like that portion of the episode is often ignored in favor of the difficulties SpongeBob and Squidward have to face after they were accidentally fused together due to that teleportation machine that Sandy let them test. SpongeBob and Squidward proceed that the Krusty Krab fuse together but are unable to actually do any work because of the physical inability to not be stuck together. And while it was pretty sickening to see SpongeBob initially not be too bothered about it, he does come to the same conclusion as Squidward further into the episode, that it's really not possible to live fused together. It was pretty funny to see Squidward's and SpongeBob's houses being dragged and smashed into each other though, so I guess that was a plus. We fast forward to the Bikini Bottom Recreation Center where Squidward is scheduled to perform in a clarinet recital. Sandy still hasn't shown up, and Squidward is truly about to give up, and then SpongeBob swoops in and inspires and motivates Squidward to go out and do his very best regardless of the circumstances. Thanks to a nail in the floorboard, however, Squidward's true appearance i.e. fused to SpongeBob, is revealed. But that surprisingly draws the respect and admiration from the crowd. So for once, Squidward gets the recognition and approval that he has been seeking for so long. But alas, Sandy just keeps messing up, showing up and splitting SpongeBob apart at literally the worst time that she could do so. So the ending of the episode is on a whole new level of horror. I'm not going to put a screenshot of it in this video simply because it just looks that disgusting and disturbing. I would say that episodes like this with an extremely bad ending are few and far between, but that doesn't mean we should excuse this episode for it. On its own, the plot gets a 6 out of 10. I get that the writers were trying to depict a scenario where Squidward, who vehemently wants to avoid SpongeBob, has absolutely no choice but to be connected with SpongeBob 24 hours a day. It's a really extreme scenario, and I'm left wondering why SpongeBob wasn't depicted to be particularly concerned about the situation. Perhaps he just had complete trust and confidence in Sandy to revert them back to normal, or perhaps he even liked being fused to Squidward. I also find it pointless to create a situation where Squidward finally gets the recognition he desires only to see it completely eliminated by the cause of his existing misery, that being Sandy and her invention. On the animation front, 8 out of 10. The scenes where SpongeBob and Squidward are initially fused together are really well animated. I also enjoyed the initial scenes where SpongeBob and Squidward are trying to do their respective duties in the Krusty Krab but failed miserably. So that is that. As for unique characteristics, 7 out of 10. I wouldn't classify this as an annoy Squidward episode for the sole reason that Squidward's predicament in relation to SpongeBob is not really caused by SpongeBob at all. SpongeBob was merely a willing participant in Sandy's experiment, and it was the experiment that actually caused the problem. And who conducted the experiment, you might ask? Oh, it's Sandy Cheeks. So yeah, all blame falls on her. That's something we don't see too often. Squidward being hurt, but not by SpongeBob. And it was nice to see Squidward actually get a chance to perform at the rec center. How he got that opportunity was never specified in the episode. So, who knows, right? Nonetheless, nothing good came out of it for him at the end. Poor Squidward. Therefore, this episode gets a 21 out of 30. That's all for this video. Let me know in the comments box below what you thought about episode 68. Make sure to subscribe and like the video. Keep rock here on Ultimate SpongeBob 101. I'll see you guys in the next SpongeBob video. Bye!